When you ask your spouse the question, what bowls do we use to make bread pudding in? How do they answer that question? Do they come back with, oh, we use those plastic bowls down there on the right hand side, just use the bigger one because it makes a mess? Or do they come back with a bunch of different references that you could go to and try to figure out where that bowl is and what type of bowl it is? Well, that's what we have grown used to when it comes to search. When I have a question and I want to find out an answer, I go to Google, right? And we have all started going to Google for many, many years. And Google is the #1 most dominant used search engine on the planet up until recently. When I go to Google and I ask a question, I get thousands of pages of answers that could, links that could answer my question. What I don't get is an answer. Well, that all sort of started changing about a year and 5-6 months ago with ChatGPT 4 or ChatGPT 3, then 4, and then so on and so forth. There is a new player in the search world, and that is Perplexity AI. I came across Perplexity AI after really doing some research on the whole debacle that Google had with Gemini and their image creating AI program, and since has been taken offline and being fixed because of its bugs. Well, if you understand the agenda that a very big part of Google has had when it comes to diversity and all this, it's sort of clouding their vision of what their business is all about. Well, companies such as ChatGPT or OpenAI, who got an enormous amount of money from Microsoft about a year or so ago, I think it was 10 billion if I remember correctly. That's a lot of money. It has really started to open up the field of generative AI, and that is artificial intelligence that learns, that starts to speak in you and I's natural language. Well, there is a new player in town, that's Perplexity AI. And recently I see an article on Reuters with them about how they just signed a deal with SK Telecom about being an option to Google when it comes to their customer search, which got me to thinking, what is this Perplexity AI? I mean, this could be pretty interesting. This could actually basically break up the monopoly that Google has on search. And see, the problem Google has had is incorporating artificial intelligence or generative artificial intelligence into their program. Now, you can go to Google today and you can type in a question and it will give you its traditional list of resources to go figure out the answer for yourself. But it also has a little section at the top where it's their AI version or Gemini. And it's, it's all text, it's no image creation. So I got to thinking about all this and I thought, hey, what is the differences between Google, ChatGPT 4 in particular, and Perplexity AI? And so this is what I asked Perplexity AI. And basically it came back with a handful of answers. First of all, ChatGPT 4 is not necessarily a full-on search engine like Google is in Perplexity. So what ChatGPT 4 does very well is it can analyze data. You can upload a spreadsheet and start asking it questions about that spreadsheet and analyze that data, which I have a friend who has done that, and it's now changing his whole business and saving him a whole lot of money when it comes to data analysis. But it also can create images. If you watch any of my videos, you've seen the thumbnails that I've been using. Well, that's ChatGPT 4 creating those thumbnails for me through a number of prompt questions that I continuously ask to get the look I want. Now, it's not perfect. It can't spell worth a crap, which makes me feel comfortable because I can't spell either. So it's nice to know that it hadn't figured out how to spell either. So it's great. But what it's interesting is how I go about asking ChatGPT for questions, how I prompt it to produce the answers that I'm looking for. Well, Perplexity does very similar thing. What's unique about this is that Perplexity is one of those natural language programs where, like you and I are talking, you ask me a question and I give you an answer. Whereas if I ask Google a question, it gives me thousands of pages of potential answers, but never the answer. Whereas Perplexity gives me an answer, and then it prompts me to ask more about that question I just asked and the answers that it just gave. So it's like a conversation that you and I are having about a subject. What it doesn't do, it doesn't create images. From what I can tell, it doesn't analyze data. It is truly a search engine that works more like a human being does in how you and I would interact. So what's interesting about this is that Perplexity is, at the time of the research I've found, it's like 36 people. It's 36 people who have figured out how to use generative AI and RL AI, or generative RL, which is reinforced learning. And what it basically does is they're creating this platform for which I can go ask questions as I would be asking you, and it can go access all the data in the world in real time. That's one of the drawbacks of ChatGPT 4 and 3, is that it's data that's up to a certain period of time. So for instance, before, I believe it's up to March of 23. So it's not the latest data, whereas Perplexity is latest data. It's up to speed. Now, it's not a publicly traded company yet. And honestly, I think somebody's got to come in and buy this thing up. Who? Well, who could be? Amazon, because Amazon's investing money into them. It could be Nvidia, because they've invested money into them. And of course, one of the biggest investors out there right now, who's putting money in all different things, like what's the robot company, Figure AI, and he just recently sold off 50 million shares of Amazon. Jeff Bezos is investing into this company as well. So what this tells me is the smart money recognizes that the traditional way we have gone about doing search is now quickly becoming a conversation between me and my 10 zillion friends who are really smart, and being able to decipher all that information and bring it down to one answer. And then to be able to elaborate on that answer as I prompt it to ask better or more questions about that data. Now, here's where things are going to differentiate themselves, and that's on you and I. And that is our ability to ask in-depth, deep questions that can give us the answers that we're looking for. Now, if I just said, how do I make a lemon pie? They all will give me an answer. Now, Google will give me 10,000 pages of answers, but they all give me an answer. But if I ask, how do I make a lemon pie in my apartment, and I only have a stovetop, no oven, how would I go about doing that? And I have limited resources to get ingredients. What's the best way to do it? First of all, I don't know if I'd ask it if I wanted a lemon pie or how to cook a lemon pie. I mean, that would sound terrible. But it could give me a more in-depth answer of how I would do that. So it's on me to start getting really good at asking questions or prompts. So for instance, with ChatGPT 4, I'll go in and say, hey, you are a graphic artist who just got assigned a project for a financial educational website that talks about stocks and markets and global economics. And he just did a video on the differences between Google, ChatGPT 4, and Perplexity AI. Give me a thumbnail that has these colors in it and gives this imagery. And guess what? It goes out and creates it. Now, does it get it right the first time? No, it doesn't. But I would have never gotten that on a Google search. And this is where I start to wonder, is Google a Kodak? Is Google a company who has reigned supreme for 20 some years, but is now fumbling because of management misdirection or misguidance or lack of guidance? And is Google starting to go the other side of the bell curve? And will they lose market share to companies such as Perplexity AI and whoever else dreams something up when it comes to search in their mom's garage? I am really excited to see what comes of this. And this is where I go. We need to be looking for the small company startups, small cap, in some cases micro cap, some cases we can't invest in them, and find out what companies are really interested in them, because those are the companies who will eventually acquire them. And Amazon being one of those players, SK Telecom being one of those players, NVIDIA being one of those players who is taking notice and putting money behind these guys to help them develop the next level of generative AI and RL and search. So keep an eye on this. I'll leave a link to their website, Perplexity AI's website, below. And of course, you can learn so much more if you subscribe to the Platinum channel at Best of US Investors. We got a 50% off 3 months for 3 months program off the $60 monthly fee. You get a whole bunch of stuff. Go to our website, check it out. But most importantly, whatever you do, ask questions. Be a better question asker and be curious, because this is where we find the nuggets. This is where we find the eventual line of gold through the side of the mountain. Live loud.